Today, I'm going to answer one of those deep questions that I receive all the time. How did I get here? I'm going to go into that today. We're going to go deep. So I hope you have a few moments. Sit back, relax, enjoy yourself, and let's learn together. You know what? How did you get here? I can answer that question pretty easily. You were unconscious about your life. That is how almost all of us got here. And most people are still unconscious. Here's what's going on with you. Get the idea that your life, I want you to imagine it consists of nothing but a very long reel of videotape. The past is represented by exposed film, and the present and the future are still blank. On this tape, everything that happens to you is recorded. And when I say that, I mean everything. It's a complete picture of all the sights, sounds, the actions, the tastes, smells, touches, feelings, decisions, judgments, rationalizations, everything. It's all there. And you have the ability to play back every scene if that's what you want to do. Now, you probably think there's a great deal about your life that you've forgotten. I can tell you right now, it's not true. Everything is there on that videotape. And what's more, there are a lot of those pictures that you haul up every day and use for reference, whether you're conscious of doing it or not. Now, this point is where the mind comes into play. Get the idea. Listen, if you don't get anything else from this one idea right here will transform your life. You have to understand your mind exists for only one purpose. All your mind does is save and replays those pictures of the past. And it does that because it believes it will help you survive. And by survive, I don't mean just keeping your heart beating. It is so much more than that. It's psychology. Nobody understands how their mind works. So it's not just survival, as in living, but it also things like, is it okay to be sitting in the room I'm in? Is it okay to eat the food that I'm going to eat? Is it okay for me to drive 80 miles an hour down the freeway? And on and on. In fact, your mind is what says it's okay for you to run your life exactly the way you're running it right now. Now, from a procedural standpoint, what happens is that you find yourself presented with a situation where you have a choice to do it or not to do it. At that point, your mind enters the game. And it enters the game with those old pictures to check you out. Then your mind issues a go or no-go decision based solely on those pictures from the past. And every step of the way, as the event unfolds, your mind maintains the vigil, constantly checking to ensure that you're okay, that you will continue to survive, that you're right doing what you're doing. Now, I want you to get this, understand this, burn this into your brain. Your mind cannot let you be wrong, because to do that would threaten your survival. So now it's easy to see how your mind comes into play in all these major incidents in your life. But I also want you to get the idea that your mind interacts with you in every situation, even down to those you would consider inconsequential. Take a moment in your life. Have you ever been to a comedy club? I used to play a lot of comedy clubs back in the day. And think about it. You go to see a comedian. What does a comedian actually do? If the comic's any good, all they're doing is reshuffling your pictures of the past. Because if he's talking about something you can't bring up pictures for, he's making no sense to you. And to your mind, that's equal to being wrong. So he's not funny. And you get up and leave, bitching about the cost and the wasted night. The point is, when you're unconscious about your life, you use your mind as the statistic. You have the most incredible supercomputer ever invented. We all do. But instead of using it for amazing things. We use it as a calculator. We use it as the checker outer, if you will. The key question right now is whether your mind is accurate for you. And that means, does your mind in fact serve up those pictures which actually have something to do with your survival, or is it screwing you up? To make this analysis, let me give you a situation from my life. Let me take you back 4 or 5 years old. I'm riding my bike down the street with training wheels on it. I didn't quite make it as I tried to turn at the end of the road, fell over, crashed into a telephone pole, got myself together, my arm scratched, had a bump on my head, stomach was hurting. So I go home crying to my mom. She fed me, which now that I'm thinking about it, could have been a problem. She fed me to make me feel better, told me it was okay, told me to be more careful the next time. But I want you to understand this. The next time I got into any situation where there was any possibility of me being hurt, my mind served up those pictures of the headache and the stomach ache as if they actually had something to do with my survival in the earlier situation. So you get a headache, you get a stomach ache. I got both again. I got to survive because my mind believed the two events were related to each other. That is what our mind does. That is the entire point. Your mind puts us in this game of having to be right. And when we get there, we're trapped. Your mind is screwing up your life because it's serving up these old pictures when in truth, they have absolutely nothing to do with your actual survival. Your mind seeks to make your life consistent. So what it does, it serves up the same pictures when you get yourself into any situation that is even remotely similar to an earlier one. Your mind thinks it's helping by making your life consistent, even if it's consistently miserable. Your mind gives you the appearance of certainty. And for so many people, that's all they need. Change is the most terrifying fear for most people. They would rather be miserable and comfortable in the misery than to try something new. Now, I don't want you to get into this idea that the mind only serves up traumatic pictures, horrifying pictures. I'll give you another example. I have a client, she was at the time in her mid-30s. She always had a terrific weight problem. At the time, she was about 270 pounds. And I certainly understand that my entire life. That was always my one thing I struggled with. You're on a diet, you cheat and you eat a piece of pizza, and then you're so guilt-ridden you eat the whole pizza. That was my life. And I went from a high of 360 or something down to 255, and I go up and down a little, but I look at things completely differently. So she weighed 260, something like that. When she looked back on the pictures of her life, she saw what was happening when she was 6 and 7 and 8. She made a decision then about running her life, and it's the decision that was still running her life. That decision she made was simply, she would get home from school, the house was empty, nobody home. Her mom always worked, but her mom was very successful. So she also saw to it that the housekeeper came, the house was spotless. Her mom was kind of a tyrant. So she knew if she messed things up, she was going to catch holy hell from mom. So because of the combination of aloneness, which gave her that knot in her stomach, and the fact that she couldn't mess up the place, she ate. It calmed her stomach, made sure she didn't leave any scraps behind so she wouldn't get caught. The decision to eat to calm the knot was running her life for the next 30 years. And she was running her house the same way, spotless. And the amazing thing to observe is that the moment she took a hard look at what was going on with her, the effect of it immediately became reduced. Within 2 weeks, she lost 15 pounds by doing nothing. No diets, no counting calories. All she did was look at what was going on with her every time Her mind served up the knot in her stomach, the aloneness. Then she found she had a brand new conscious choice to make about eating. And most of the time, she simply chose to skip it, realizing, finally, that eating had absolutely nothing to do with surviving when she felt tense or felt alone. And once she realized this, she was able to deal with it. As a matter of fact, you should have saw this bright look of contentment and relief and aliveness, I would say be the best word, on her face, because she came to that point of realization that she had control. She had control of her weight. No doctor, no diet, nothing in the world was going to get her to that solution because she's had it inside the whole time. Right now, I want you to take a hard look at your life and look at the lives of the people around you. You'll come to the realization real fast that most of us don't have terrifying experiences running our lives. Most of us were never attacked at gunpoint. Most of us were never beaten within an inch of our life. Most of us haven't gone through what some have. Yet our lives are definitely still run unconsciously because they're based on decisions we made when we were kids. So as incredible as it seems, our minds are screwing up our lives trying to help us. And we let it happen simply because we're unconscious of it. We don't know it's happening. Here's another example. A friend of mine was really cold, really aloof. She had relationships, but always on the winning side. She was a dancer on a cruise ship. Few people could get close to her. And no one ever got close enough to be able to hurt her. Now, when she looked at that, she found that it all related to a decision she made back when she was very young. Her dad was persistent with this idea that she could do it. She could stand on her own 2 feet, that she should get out there and show them. The fact was that she couldn't, but she nevertheless made a decision unconsciously to let that stick with her and run her life. By the time she was 22, she'd been in and out of 4 colleges. What happened was she'd get there and just sit looking out the window, being cold and aloof, trying to stand up and show them. But she failed consistently. And when she looked and saw those pictures that were running her life, she had a conscious choice to make, whether or not to let them continue to control her life. So she chose to ditch them. She went straight home to her father, cried her eyes out. She told the truth about what was running her life and how it wasn't working, and he understood. In fact, he cried too. His little girl wanted to lean on him. She loved him. Life is amazing. But then you're unconscious about it most of the time. The truth is, when you become conscious of the fact that your mind is serving up survival pictures from the past, and then you choose to take a hard look at those pictures, the effects they have on you diminish immediately. If you continue to look them square in the eye, to tell it like it is, the effects will vanish completely. Because you will realize you have a conscious choice to make, whether or not to let these pictures of a similar situation continue to run your life. Now, you have the opportunity to go out into your life and validate what I just told you. Take a hard look at whatever you don't really like about you. Then sit down somewhere by yourself and tell the truth about it. No more lying to yourself. Time to get on with it. And you should take whatever comes up. Don't push pictures out of your mind when they drift in. There's a reason they do. Take a look at them. Start by being conscious of the problem that you're interested in. Then rerun that video at the point the thing last happened to you. Since you're a physical being, you're actually a spiritual being, having a physical experience, but now you're a physical being. It has to start somewhere in your body. There has to be some point. Where is it located? How far is it? How far down? What thoughts do you have about it? What judgments? Before you begin an exercise like that, you have to know you're going to experience a great deal of fear. It's taking that long, hard look at your life. It's almost as if you think you might wander back there and get stuck permanently or go nuts if you have to go through it again. The truth is, you're just you, and the effect of consciously rerunning the video and looking at the pictures of your life is one of tremendous relief, because you finally get to go through issues instead of around them, and to tell the truth to you about what was going on from you. And you can just be there, watching that tape run, looking. You are just you. You are not the event. You just went through it. You can go back, you can rerun the tape on all those issues you refused to deal with at the time they occurred and get them out of the way permanently. Only after you tell the truth will you come to the realization that you have total freedom to choose. You always have. You are in control. You can stop letting those old pictures run your life. At this point, we're taking this from the very beginning, as if, I don't know where you are on your journey, but this could be for the person who is just starting on the path towards awakening. It's a very first instance of revelation. You have to think about it carefully. Let it sink in. The truth is, if you're unconscious about your life, you're letting your mind serve up those pictures from the past, which it thinks make you survive. And to survive equals being right, being okay about everything that you do. And since your mind can only serve up pictures from the past, it's not a fortune teller. It's not showing you the future. All it can do is bring up old pictures. That's it. So what happens is you're living there. You're living now in the past. What I'm going to tell you now is deep, and I want you to get this. If you're watching this later as a replay, thank you. I love you. I love everyone who's working on themselves, who's showing themselves some self-love. So this is deep. You're looking backwards. You're always trying to justify that what you've already done is right. When you're not, let's call it the rightness river, okay? What we do is we row against it. We get into the rightness river and we row against it. But imagine you're standing on a rock out in the middle of that rightness river. You have your fishing line, you cast it backwards into your past, bringing up pictures, trying to find reasons for all your moves. You bring up pictures one by one, and you find all sorts of reasons why you were right. And you try to make it okay that you lost that little game. Everything in life is a game. It's an agreement. If you look at life that way, anything that's happening to you, you've agreed to. Subconsciously or consciously, you have. So what do? We're spending all our time in the past, and then we bring all our friends around us. We recreate the pictures for them. We tell them exactly what happened. We get them to agree with us that we were reasonable and that the world was wrong. It should have gone our way. But the fact is, we didn't win. We lost. And we're really asses for doing that to ourselves. You get to see right now, you can't use your mind as the verifying statistic for one simple reason. And we all do it. We use our mind as the verifying statistic by looking at those pictures. But your mind's purpose is to make you right. It's to give you justification. It's not to make you win, because it thinks that by being right, you get to survive. The problem is that in life, you end up with only one of two things. You either end up with results, or you end up with the reasons you didn't get results. Your mind is resistant to the truth because the truth simply is. It doesn't need reasons. It doesn't have to be right. It's just the truth. Let's look at an example. Let's say we have a salesman and he's just returned from a call from one of his biggest accounts. Only two things can have happened. He's come back to the office. He only has one of two things. Either he has results, he made the sale, or he has a bunch of reasons why he didn't. Now, notice that when he has results, no one asks for the reasons. Results can be left alone. They don't need reason. But your mind is resistant to that notion. And that's because your mind is desperately wanting things to be like they were, not like they are. This is scary for your mind. This is unproven. This is uncharted. The past is safe. It's comfortable. Your mind wants things like that, not like they are now. Your mind cannot create anything. It can only imitate what was. You're walking down the street with your best friend. At a distance, you see a man. He starts coming closer and closer. You realize he looks exactly like the uncle that abused you when you were a kid. You get the knot in your stomach. You start to sweat. You get closer and closer and closer. Then you realize it's not them. The sigh of relief. The person next to you you're walking with, what did they feel when they saw that person? Nothing. You did that to yourself. Not only that, but you recreated all the same negative feelings in yourself. The anxiety, the stress, the fear. Your mind can only imitate. So what does that mean? It means you're standing on that rock in the middle of the rightness river. You're fishing into the past, trying to justify what was. And what are you doing when that's happening? Wasting more valuable time. People who live in the past or go to the past to try to show you that they should have, would have, could have. Waste of time and energy. Maybe someday the real you will become convinced that being right doesn't represent an answer. Once you get sick and tired of surviving while losing all the games, it'll start to gnaw at you. You'll begin to move. You'll begin to take action. You're anchored on that rock. You're casting your line backwards. You're looking backwards. That means the present is going by without you knowing it, not consciously. And just when you least expect it, bam, you get hit right in between the eyes with another big log or something from the river because you're not paying any attention. The river of life never stops flowing. It's just like the tide. It was here long before you arrived. It'll be here long after you fade away. And it really doesn't give a damn whether you try to push it around or whether you choose to get in an inner tube and simply go along for the ride. The river of life goes on. So hopefully you'll start to notice, you'll start to understand, you'll start to see. One of the biggest problems with our lives is simply we're facing the wrong way. We're looking backward, trying to justify what we've already done. And I'm here to tell you right now, if all you do watching this video is turn yourself around, if you manage to turn around and you accomplish nothing more than that, if you're facing forward, you're in the present, looking towards the future, not with fear, but with goals, you will be well on your way to winning the game. Not all the little games, but the game of life. You'll see clearly that you have control of your life. And for the very first time, you'll know where you're going. You'll be able to dodge 95% of what is in that water. All that stuff that comes up. Because you're looking in the right direction. You will really be impressed because it was you who got you out of the situation. It's you who got yourself out of your own way. It's all an inside job. Nothing out there is going to do it. It's all inside. your life becomes free. Your life becomes easy. Your life becomes effortless. All because you're riding with the river instead of against it. In the morning, you jump in the inner tube and you let the river take you instead of paddling the other direction. You'll also start to discover that you end up with everything you want. You start to win all the games you set up without trying to win them because you don't have to be right.
And I'd like to remind you, if you're not a member of our Facebook community, you definitely should be. There are thousands of people just like you, transforming their lives and helping each other through the process. It really is a fantastic community of like-minded people. You're going to find support there. You're going to find inspiration there. So why don't you join? Go to brentsgroup.com, no apostrophe in the S, brentsgroup.com. Get your invite today. Come and take a look around. I know you're going to love it. Really, everything is laid out perfectly. Thousands of posts, videos, everything you need to get from where you are now to where you want to be. brentsgroup.com. That's all I got for you today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you can put some of this to use in your life right away. And I'll see you back here next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of Mind Power Secrets Live. Until then, this is Brent, and I will talk to you soon.